this episode, we're answering another fan question, which was how to get started homeschooling. And before we hit record, me and Anna were talking about how we both are a little unprepared because I was thinking Anna's literally a homeschooling expert. This is her job. I'll just follow her lead. And apparently Anna was thinking the same thing. So this will be really fun. We're just going to be really informal here and talk about how to get started homeschooling. So Anna, you are the expert. Let's hear it.
Okay, far from expert, because let's remember, I have one child. So I was thinking you were definitely had a lot of expertise because you have so many more children that you're teaching. And so you've definitely, if you look at your first child as your guinea pig and you look at all of your mistakes and then you're going to get them right the next time, it's like you've had time to clean up your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I haven't had that. So, first of all, let's just say if this is where you are, if you're the person that submitted this question, you've decided to take control of your child's education, you've decided to redeem your own education a little bit. Well done. Like, you've done the hardest part, and we're celebrating for you because this is going to be such an amazing thing for you, for your children, for your family. The freedom, the confidence, just you will have hard days, but this is going to be one of the greatest decisions that you've ever made and one of the best decisions that you could make for your child. So well done. And you've already done the hard part.
Yeah, let's pat everybody on the back. It's funny.
Yay.
Because we are usually like, don't love yourself, don't believe in yourself. And I stand by all that. But I will also say, if you are a mother, you are the best person for this job. And God will equip you for this work, because if God's given you children, he's going to help you be faithful in that. So this is counter what we usually say, but you got this.
Yes, you do. And if you doubt that, just real quick, get out a paper and pencil, okay? And write down everything you've already taught your children. If you're even in that season yet, maybe you just know that one day you want to homeschool the children that the Lord will bless you with. So maybe you're not there yet. But if you have these children in your home with you, write down what you've already taught them. You've probably already taught them to walk. You've taught them words. You've potty trained, and that's the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Oh yeah.
So make a list of all the things that you already taught them. You're a teacher already. You're doing it. You're doing the things. So congratulations. This is going to be great. We're excited for you. So yeah, let's talk the practicals. So first let's talk to the mom who, you've got littles. Okay. They're not quite school age. You're just now getting there. And so you're starting from the beginning. I'm so happy for you. That is the best place to start.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything that you need to untrain from them. You don't have anything you need to untrain from you. You're starting at the easy spot. I will say, I talk to a lot of parents who have very littles. Okay, I'm talking, you still have toddlers. You have a child that's 4 or under, and you're thinking about homeschooling. Okay, deep breaths, go play.
Mm-hmm.
Just play.
Yep.
Be intentional with your play. Point out colors, point out blocks, attend to all the details around you. Name things, pay attention to the colors, start counting together, sing the ABCs. Be so intentional with your play. But right now, education is fun. Education is not formal. We're not ready to sit down with workbooks and phonics lessons and handwriting. It's not time yet. So play. But mama, what you need to do is you need to pick up some books and you need to do some research, because there are so many different homeschool methodologies. So many. There is a mass exodus from the public school system right now, which means a lot of things. One of the things it means is that there is a plethora of homeschool curriculum to choose from, and so many different models of learning. So I would suggest starting with doing your research on the different models of education. There is classical, there is unit studies, there is Charlotte Mason, there is so many. So research the different ones. Find out what sounds appealing to you. We both chose classical, so we could
Mhm.
talk for a long time about why classical education appealed to us and why that's what we thought was the methodology that would encourage our children to learn the best. But you may be drawn to something else.
Mhm.
And you will hear throughout your entire time homeschooling that you can always change curriculums if it's not working for you. Yes, you can, but it is harder to change models. So I would
Right.
say zero in on the model of homeschooling that appeals most to you,
Mhm.
and that's going to narrow down your curriculum choices. If you open up a homeschooling curriculum catalog or you go to a homeschool curriculum fair and you don't have kind of that base knowledge of which model you're choosing, it can be so overwhelming because there's so much there. But if
Mhm.
you know I'm looking at classical education, I've really narrowed it down to maybe 4 or 5.
Right.
If I know I want Charlotte Mason, I've really narrowed it down to a few. So look at them, do your research, educate yourself, and see which model of education you think your child would be most
Yeah.
fit with their learning needs.
Yeah. And also you as the teacher, because you're going to have to do this. So what can you do? What makes sense for
Yes.
you? And, look at your strengths. Also look at your weaknesses. If you're a really, really, really unstructured person, you might need to seek to intentionally add structure. Or if you're a very rigid person, you're going to need to seek to intentionally add some fun. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just, you're not just looking for your kids, because at this point, if you have a 1 and 2 year old, you might not even know, but you're looking at what can I do? What can I sustain?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of going from there.
Yeah, I can speak for myself. I am not a creative person. I am not drawn to cutesy. I'm not drawn to artsy fartsy. I'm not drawn to the curriculums that have a huge emphasis on arts and crafts and creative time. That's not me. That's not my son at all. If you have met my son and you can picture him in your head right now, that was not what either of us were ever going to look at. It would not have been a happy home.
He would
It
run
wouldn't
away
have
so
been.
fast.
I would every time that I picked up a art or craft, it would kill my soul a little bit. So look at do like Abby said, look at your weaknesses. Because if you're the kind of mom that extends so much grace and you would find yourself not having enough structure in your day, you need something that's really structured and really laid out.
Mhm.
If you are very rigid, you're going to need to have to teach yourself how to allow a little bit more grace. So do look at your weaknesses. And I would also say begin with the end in mind. If your student is kindergarten age, don't just look at kindergarten curriculum. Look
Mm.
at that curriculum at 11th and 12th grade. Where is this going to take me? If I start here, what does this look like in the end? Is this what I want my child studying in high school? Because what you don't want is to fall in love with something and get to middle school and think, oh,
Mhm.
man, they really changed what they did there. I don't really like that. I'm going to have to jump ship and do something else. So begin with the end in mind. Don't be the mom that just says, oh, we're just going to take it year to year. Go ahead and
Mm.
look, see where this is going to take you. And that also helps give you an idea of what is my end goal for my kid?
Mm.
Do I want them to be a lifelong learner? Do I want to give them the skills to know how to learn their entire life? And this is what it's going to look like for them in junior and senior year. And that's one reason I chose classical. I loved where it was going to take my son in the future. So, begin with the end in mind. Look ahead. Don't just look at
Mm.
kindergarten curriculum. Look way down the road and see where it's going to take you.
Yeah, that's a good advice. The other thing I would say, while your kids are little and you're figuring out this, what's my methodology? Read books, yes.
Mhm.
Also, go talk to some real on the ground mamas. Hopefully, you're in a church with moms who have
Yeah.
done this, and I think that can't be overestimated. You can read all the books, you can read all the blog posts or whatever, but just to be able to say to older mama, um, hey, I'm starting to feel a little anxious about homeschooling. Can I come and see what you do? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we could have some like Titus 2 discipleship here?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
also,
I love that.
like you're saying, there's so many resources now. I feel like that's a huge difference from maybe when we were growing up, even.
Oh, for
There's
sure.
so many resources. It can be overwhelming because, of course, if you go look at them online, they all look good. They all say good things about themselves. But can I thumb through your books? You know,
Hmm.
can I come over Saturday morning and thumb through your books and then do that a couple peaceful houses? And what are you drawn to? I also think this might be a good time to try a homeschool convention. You don't have to, but it is another free way to look at books
Right.
before you spend
And
any
I'm that
money.
kind of person. I'm very tactile. I like to touch. I like to flip through. It's one thing to look at a catalog, but I want to read through them. I want to see more. I've got to touch it. And I promise you, if you know a homeschool mama, we've got books.
Oh yeah.
Like we have the things that you can touch. We probably have, I know I can't be the only homeschool mom that has done this, but I see something new and shiny and fun all the time, and it ends up on my bookshelf, and I may never use it. But shiny new books and curriculum really excite us homeschool mamas. So there's probably something from several different methodologies. If you go to a homeschool mama's house, we got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that you can touch and look at for a lot of different levels. Um, and you can talk to our kids and see, what does this look like for you? What do you really enjoy about these books and this curriculum? Because I have yet to meet one of these homeschool kids that don't enjoy talking to people. Usually, they're very excited to share with people what they learn and what they do. So talk to the kids. What do you like about this? What do you wish was a little bit different? What does your day look like? I think that's a cool opportunity too. But I agree with Abby. We were created not to be alone. One of the first things that God did was give Adam a companion because it wasn't good for him to be alone. And accountability in all aspects of
Mm-hmm.
our life is such a good thing. So yes, find a community, find local moms that are homeschooling, and team up with them. Maybe it doesn't look like joining a community. Maybe it just looks like letting them share some wisdom, letting them encourage you. For me, one of the greatest encouragements that I ever got from a homeschool mom was somebody when I joined our classical conversations community when Nathan was 4. You see so many people that you're just like, well, they have it all together and they know what they're doing, and I don't feel like I can ask them questions because they're going to think I'm ridiculous if I don't have it all together. So the mama that was honest with me and was like, yes, we love this. It's great. It works for us. Sometimes I cry in my closet. I was like, yes, I want the honest. I want the one that's going to tell me this is great. This is wonderful, but the days are still hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk to that mama because she can tell you, yeah, we had a really hard day, but the next day the Lord redeemed it and it was such a good thing. So lean onto those mamas for wisdom, lean on them for encouragement, but they're also going to give you advice and about how to get through those really difficult days because we love what we do, but we're not going to sit here and tell you that every day is easy. Because I think one of the things that you'll find about homeschooling is the most difficult part isn't educating your children, it's parenting your children.
Oh, I say that all the time.
Yeah, because you're struggling together over a hard lesson and a hard concept. And you're the teacher, but you're also the parent. And so sometimes when you're struggling with something hard, you come across a character flaw in your children that needs to be addressed. You come across an obedience or a respect problem that needs to be addressed. And praise God, you're there to do it. You're sitting right next to them, you're walking them through it. But you have to be the parent and the teacher at the same time. So you can't just set the character deficits aside and focus
Mm.
on the math lesson. You have to parent in the moment, right?
Again, it goes
So,
back to like, what's your goal here? Do you want a
yes.
math expert that has attitude issues? It's like, no, we're going to set aside the math and we're going to deal with this.
Right. So, starting out with littles, find a person, find wisdom, read books, educate yourself, and play. Just play
Mm-hmm.
with your kids. My greatest homeschooling regret is doing too much too soon. I don't remember learning how to read. I'm pretty sure I was born with a book in my hands. I love to read. I love to read. It's a passion of mine. If I have a free moment, I'm reading. If I am cleaning or gardening or walking out to check on my goats, I probably have earbuds and I'm listening to an audiobook. I love books. I love literature. And so I wanted my son to love books and love literature. So when he was not quite even 4, I was gung ho. We were going to learn to read. Developmentally, he wasn't ready. And I tried to force something that we were not ready to do. And I hurt his love for learning for quite some time. I hurt his ability to learn to read. I made it a battle. We redeemed that. We got past it. But
Mhm.
I had to get to the point where I said as a parent, nope, this was on me. This was my bad. You weren't ready. And I pushed this. And I had to step back and reassess that. So if I could go back and change one thing,
Mm.
I would not have started so soon. I would not have been so passionate and so gung ho.
Mm.
And maybe you have a kid who's precocious and ready, but don't push too hard before your kids are ready, because I did that, and it made a couple of years really, really hard. And I could have spared myself and my son some tears if I hadn't done that.
That's the kind of advice and anecdotes that I'm hoping that people are going to the moms in their church, hopefully, and getting, because again, ideally it's in your church and you're in covenant relationship with these people and they're praying for you and you're praying for them and they know your kids and they know you and they can speak into like, hey, like he might not be ready right now. So
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that like you might not get from a book, but you might get from a good friend. And that can't be underestimated.
right.
Or overestimated? Overestimated.
Overstated,
Overstated. I like
understated,
that. I don't know. Anyways,
understated.
you know what we mean. You got it.
Homeschool.
But don't overwhelm your kids. And I think maybe the public school system model has gotten into our brains a little bit, and try to see where that's happening. And that happens a lot for those preschool and kindergarten years. How long have we
Mm-hmm.
been sending our kids? Like now there's like PK3 and PK2 and PK4 and PK and K1 and K2. Like this was not for education, that was for daycare. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry. So, but just so try to separate that out is like, what should my 2-year-old be doing? They should be playing with you. You should be reading books to them. I think
Oh
you
yes.
cannot read out loud too much. Do that. Read out loud. Um, Narrate your
Forever.
day.
Even when your kids know how to
Oh
read,
yeah.
read aloud to your kids.
It's still the most important part of our homeschool day is read aloud time, I think. But narrate your day, talk to them, use big words, don't baby talk to them, like call them up to a higher language. By
Yes.
narrating your day, this is what we're doing, this is what I'm doing. Talk about what you see, and those things they will learn more that way. I promise you, than at daycare or what they call preschool, which is also daycare.
Right. So littles, educate yourself, play, find a mentor, get
Do
plugged in.
Play-Doh,
Okay.
do the
Yeah.
stuff. And
Go
the
for a walk. Just
yes,
attend to all the details of everything going on around you.
life is learning. Do fun things. Do fine motor things. Like look up fine motor things to do, because if you're gonna teach them writing later, it's not time right
Mm-hmm.
now. Do not give them a pencil right now. But do the fine motor skills that strengthen those fingers. That will help
Of
you
course.
later.
Yes, absolutely. And oh my goodness, just enjoy those years. Don't rush them. You don't get them back. And that play, they're learning so much. It'll blow you away.
Yeah.
It'll blow you away. It
Yep.
really, really will. Okay, so that's if you have really littles. Okay, now I want to talk to you, Mama, who you started school. You started kindergarten, first grade. It's not working. And you're coming home and you want to homeschool. All right, Abby, what do we
Oh
do now?
no, stop it. I'm really bad at this. I don't know. I only know how to start one way. So I
I
can't
will
help you
say,
here.
if you start well, it is so much easier to keep going. We've said that about so many things before. Train in what you want to become habits later.
Hmm.
But if you didn't, if you started, you're coming home, we haven't done this.
Yeah.
And so I can't wrap my mind around
Hmm.
some of the struggles that you're going to go through. I can't. I know there are people out there that can advise you. I will say this. You are leaving a system that didn't work for you. Maybe it didn't work for you because some kids are really mean. And I think we can acknowledge that that's a huge reason why a lot of people uh, pull their kids out of school is because problems with other children, problems with curriculum, safety issues. We're dealing with boys and girls bathrooms and just so many things that present safety issues to our children. You're leaving a system that didn't work. Don't try to recreate it at home.
Mm.
It didn't work for you. Homeschool is not public school at home.
Mm.
Okay? So we're not recreating all the desk time. We're not recreating the schedule. We're not recreating the workbooks. We're not doing that. So maybe if you're coming out of the school system, take a deep breath, maybe take a couple weeks off and just love your children. And you're going to have to evaluate where they're at. You know, there are a lot, basically every curriculum that you're going to choose is going to have some type of placement to let you know where you need to start. So, whatever curriculum you choose, I would say probably take a little bit of time off. Love your kid. Love your kid. You're pulling them out of a bad situation for whatever reason. Love them, play with them, care for them, nurture them. And then whatever curriculum that you've chosen, figure out where they're at and move forward. But do not try to recreate what you left. A lot of people try to make homeschool public school at home, and that's not what it is. This is a completely different lifestyle as well as a completely different learning style. So don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the idea of taking a break, even just to get your bearings on what is your plan, what are you going to do, what do you need, and kind of just recovering from whatever made you pull out. I would also say on a parenting level, I have talked to parents who like, oh, I would love to homeschool, but my kid would hate it. And so I would like to speak to that because you might be at that point where it's like, I'm pulling my kid out, but they're miserable and they hate me. And I would just encourage you that you are the parent, you have authority, and there's a lot of things that my kids would love to do that are bad for them. And today, my 3-year-old was playing with his stomp rocket on the porch and he asked if he could go play with it on the road. And I said no. And I'm the worst. Sorry. But I'm making a decision that I believe is for your best interest, and how you feel about it is irrelevant because it's my job to make the best decision for you. And that sounds really harsh. You can probably phrase it a little better to your child, except for, you do need to say, I'm an authority over you. I understand things you don't understand, and I'm making a decision that I believe is in your best interest. It'll be hard, and we're going to do it together. And then they have to submit to your decision.
Right. And I'll also add, we said this on our previous episode that we talked about why we homeschool and why we believe that it's something the Lord has commanded of us. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back because you're going to hear a lot of things that are kind of a precursor to this episode. So go back and listen to that. But I'll add to what Abby said, you're also accountable for that decision. Right? So handing your child the authority that's been given to you doesn't take away your accountability. That this is something the Lord has commanded you to do, is to protect and nurture and educate your children. And we're not given permission to outsource that based on our children's feelings. So,
right. So, I mean, if Job would have taken the stomp rocket in the road and got hurt, who would be accountable for that? Not him, because it was
right,
my
he's free.
job to protect him.
He doesn't know the risks. You know the risks. So I will say that. Still, find a friend, find a mentor, find someone to walk along this with you. I think Abby and I would both acknowledge that we came from a place that was wonderfully unique, and that a lot of people, it's really hard for them to make this decision because it's not a cultural norm in their family. It's certainly not a cultural norm in society, but it hasn't been a cultural norm in their family. So they're really stepping outside of the box and breaking some cultural norms and maybe upsetting some people and causing some friction in relationships to make this decision. It wasn't like that for us
Yeah.
because our parents made the hard choice. And we just are blessed and thankful for that and are carrying on with what we know. And what we know worked because it worked for us. And we were blessed and so thankful for the education that we were given. So, yeah, we do things a little bit differently than our parents, but we're so blessed and so thankful that they really did pave that road for us. So maybe this is a really, really, really tough thing for you because nobody in your family is supportive of this. So find somebody. There are homeschool groups that meet at your library during the week. There are people. So maybe you're like me and you haven't been in a church where there's other homeschool families. I've been in a lot of churches, but I'm pretty much always been the lone homeschool mama. So maybe you don't have that support at your church, but they're out there. We're out there, these homeschool mamas, and we like to talk about what we do. We're very passionate about it. So find the people. I pray that it's in your church because, like Abby said, these are people that love you and have a covenant relationship with you. But if that's not the norm at your church, you get to be a part of making it the norm. So still go out and find some people that can support you and encourage you, but bring that norm back to your family and back to your church. So it may be a really hard decision. It's the right one.
I
So
think
it's going
it's
to be okay.
good too for, it's good for you to find a mom friend who's a little farther ahead who can help you. It's
Yeah.
good too for your kids to see, oh, other people do this too. We're not the only people who are doing this, or if some parts are hard of your day, to see that like other kids are doing this too. This is not a unique to you experience.
Yeah. And that's one reason why we chose the curriculum that we did because we had that community aspect and we could meet together weekly and then have 4 days a week at home. So there are programs out there like that. Um, I'd love to talk to you about ours, about what we do. And Abby would love to talk to you about how theirs is a little bit different and what they do specifically. But this is more for not for advertising what we've chosen, hoping you get started on the right choice. But
Yeah,
if you have specific questions, come at us with those, and we'll respond to you privately
for
and
sure.
help you navigate through specific curriculum options.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say if you've made the decision to homeschool, no matter what you do, it's your kid is going to be better off not having gone
mhm.
to public school. So I think there is a lot of good choices. I think there's a lot of valid choices. I think there's a couple ones that aren't so good or valid, but um
Yeah, there
your
are certainly some ones I wouldn't
yeah,
choose.
yeah, we could probably touch on that a little bit if we needed to someday, but anyways.
Yeah. Um, but I think my biggest advice for someone who's pulling out a student is don't try to recreate what you left and get that accountability, get that wisdom. Um, specifically, I think it's more rare to hear of someone who pulls their student out in their middle or high school years and start homeschooling them.
Mhm.
Um, I do know people that have done it. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
really, really hard
Yeah.
because your child has been taught to learn a certain way, and you have to.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much harder. Um, I know a lot of people who say that they're homeschooling until high school and they're going through high school to public school for high school. I think that's a really common thing that you hear, and that breaks my heart because you've invested and poured so much in. I'm excited to spend the last years with my son. I'm excited to see the fruits. Um, I don't want it ruined. I don't. I'm not saying that I've done a lot of things perfectly. There, like I've already said, there are things that I would go back and change, but I want to be there to see the fruit and see the rewards of what we've invested in. Classical education is so much different from the public school model that I don't think I've set him up for success for that. I've set him up for success to finish out a classical education, but I don't think I've set him up for success to go back to public school and learn to think a completely different way. I don't think that would be fair of me. So again, I think that you're not setting yourself up with success if you're going into this. We're going to take it year by year. Commit, commit, grasp onto this, burn the ships,
Mm.
and commit through high school.
Mm. Yeah, I will say when we started homeschooling, I remember saying out loud to people that were holding it with a loose hand. And now I'm like, you could pry my children's education out of my cold dead body. I'm
I've
like,
said that before. So I also said,
it's
um,
changed though.
it really has so much about the culture, the world,
Yes.
education has changed. So I do remember saying, we're taking it year to year. We'll see where the Lord leads us. Um,
Yeah.
and then I remember saying over my dead body.
Hmm.
And now I'm saying, oh, dear husband, not even then.
I know. I
Here's
know.
here's here's who you call. Here's my friends. They
Yep.
know what he needs. They'll set you up. He is so much more independent. He can do a lot on his own. Oh, my dear husband, not even then. Thankfully, he's on board. But he also hopes that we don't come to that.
Right. That would be ideal.
That wouldn't
We
be fun.
we have absolutely had that conversation where I'm like, if I die,
Yes.
I swear you will not put these children in public school. Like, I don't know what
No.
my capacity, like, theologically, I guess I probably can't come back to haunt you, but just don't do it.
You, at the very least, you will know
Yeah.
in your heart and soul that this is mm-mm, no. Yeah, I truly that has been something we've talked about. I used to say over my dead body and chuckle, and now not even then. I can't even say that. Absolutely not. I don't see any reason ever. We started this. We've invested in this. This is the way.
Yeah. And if you're
This is the
coming up
way.
against opposition to this decision, if your family is like, that's so weird. How could you do this? You're going to ruin them. You need to be very firm in your reasoning. So firm that up, firm up your conviction to do it. Um, have it ready on the tip of your
Hmm.
tongue. Also, you don't have to defend it to everybody.
No.
I have like sympathy for people who are having to defend it to their parents, and I also have sympathy for parents like who maybe like they sent their kids to public school and they might feel like, oh, this is like a referendum on our parenting. Well, again, you can say with grace, you did what you thought was best at the time, and the times have changed, and the public school system has changed,
Yeah, they have.
and you were faithful with what you knew to do, and now I'm trying to be faithful with what I know to do, and I hope you can respect that, and kind of being able to respect their decision while asking them to give you the same courtesy. So being able to defend it, at least in your own mind, even if you don't verbally do it every time, just being convicted personally of your choice, so that you won't have that option hanging back. Oh, we could just go back. We could just undo this,
Right.
because I
And
I don't think that's how you set yourself up for success. If there's a way out, you're going to take it because it's going to be hard.
sure,
So
yeah.
burn the ship.
And yeah, and also this isn't the first time that people have questioned your parenting decisions, has it? Because think about it. It I feel like from the moment that people find out you're expecting, they have opinions on how you should raise your child, how you should feed them, how you should diaper
Oh, way
them,
before
what
that,
kind of
Anna.
sleep
Way before
schedule.
that. Pregnancy. Should you get the
Oh,
Tdap? Should you get a midwife or an OB? Should you do home birth or a hospital? And all of the
epidural,
yeah,
natural.
uh, whatever. So there's all these things even before. If you've named your child and people are like, "That's a stupid name," heard it. Um, you got, as a parent, you have to be able to at some point be like, God's given me authority over this child, and I'm doing my best.
Yeah. And you don't have to love it, but I'm the parent. As a parent, you have to have confidence in your decisions. Know why you're doing what you're doing and do it. Stick to it. Know why you want to have this sleep schedule. Know why you want to wait until after a year to give peanut butter or not. Or how long do you want to swaddle or make these decisions as a parent. Inform yourself and then make the decision and be confident. And this is the same thing. You've done this. You've done it. You named your kid even though someone didn't like the name. You had your baby even though someone thinks that you should have done it naturally. You should have gotten an epidural. You should have done it at home or you should have done it in the hospital. You have done this before. It's not the first time. So just walk in confidence.
Well, just get
And
used to disappointing people.
yeah, it's fine. It's
I,
fine. You'll do it again.
it's a
And you know what? You'll
balance.
get really good at it.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
You want to be like confident in the decision you're making because you want to have researched it and come to it prayerfully with wisdom that you have
Sure.
from God's word. But you don't want to be unpenetrable by wisdom. You know, you want for a mom to be able to come alongside you and say corrective things too, and be able to hear that and evaluate God, like open my eyes if any of this is true and if any of this needs to be considered. So it is a balance. Like, but you should have confidence because you've done the work to get there and you've
Yes.
prayerfully done the work and you've sought God's wisdom and wisdom from other people, other believers. And at the end of the day, you will disappoint a lot of people no matter what you do. So
Yeah,
get used to it.
absolutely. Yes, for sure. And you are going to read about a lot of different methodologies and a lot of different things, hopefully. And another thing that I think you're going to come up against is, and this is touching a little bit on methodology, but it's also so
Mm-hmm.
much of what we've already talked about parenting.
Right.
Start now having your kids do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We do hard things. We don't back away from hard things. And so many people say, oh, well, I'm going to go with a very child led education because I want to pursue all of my kids' interests and do all of these things. I love that. I love pursuing things that your child is interested in and cultivating those things. Don't stay there. Don't stay there. Start when they're little, like we said, pursuing all the things they're interested in and having fun and doing things. But one of my favorite homeschool resources is from Andrew Pudawa. I am absolutely a fangirl. I'm not a Swiftie, but I am a Pudawa, whatever you want to call it, because I will listen to everything that he says and read everything that he says because it's so many of the things that I've adopted as um, really the ideologies that I follow when it comes to homeschooling. And he said something along the lines of, and I'm going to encourage you to go back and look it up because I'll probably not say it nearly as eloquently as Mr. Pudawa did. But our children like what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they tell you, I don't like this, they're telling you, I don't understand this.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it means going farther. And if we stay in this box of we're only pursuing my child's interests, you're never going to do math. And you're going to really limit them because they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know that right now I love dinosaurs, but that's only because I don't know about engineering and building things and constructing things and using my hands. Or I don't know about biology and science and the brilliant way that God designed the universe or intricately wove together our bodies to work the way that they do. So they don't know if they're not interested in something because you haven't exposed them to that. So don't stay in the wheelhouse of we're only doing what our children are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Broaden them. Like Abby says, call them up higher
Mm-hmm.
and work harder on the things that they don't enjoy because we like what we're good at. We're good at what we understand. So
And
you're
what
going
we
to have to
don't
try a little bit
understand,
harder.
we need to be taught. And again, it goes back to it's all so intertwined. It goes back to authority. It goes back to you're the parent. It goes back to like it's your job. You don't
Mhm.
submit to them when they say I don't like this. Oh, okay. You don't like playing on the porch? Go play in the street. It's the same thing. So
Yeah.
you know what's best for them and you need to do it even when that is bucking up against a child. And you're going to do that a lot in parenting. If you don't, you are failing to exercise your God-given authority, which we have already talked about. Go back to episode whatever.
Go back. Yeah.
But I'm glad you
Yeah.
came back to that because I was going to try to find a way to come back to the
Oh,
littles
you're
because,
welcome.
yeah, exactly. You read my mind. Um, when we talked about littles and we just emphasized like play, do fun things, Do normal things. Sit on the floor, build block towers, name the shapes as you put on a block, name the colors as you put on a block. Yes, totally do that. Also, do some hard things. There needs to be some times, not a ton of time. At that point, learning is not formal, but
Mhm.
it's always happening. And so
Yes.
there should be times that, no, we're going to sit still until this book is done. We're going to finish
Mhm.
reading it, and you're going to sit on my lap and I'm going to hold you. And if you're not doing things like that, things like we just did the church, bring your kid to church episode. If your kids can't sit through a Curious George book, let me tell you what's going to be hardest, church. So it does need to start somewhere. And so you can start with little things of like, oh, today we're going to sit and read this 3-minute word book. And when you want to get up, I say, oh, we're going to finish what we started. And that's a lesson that you can be teaching. We
Yes.
finish what we start. And so when we say have fun with your kids and do normal things, we're not saying follow around your 2-year-old and submit to them all day. There's going to be
Yes.
ways that you are encouraging them to do hard things, and that's laying the groundwork. Another thing I would say that is laying the groundwork is start memorizing something with them,
Mhm.
even if it's just who made you, God.
God.
What else
What
did
else
God
did God
make?
make?
All
All
things.
things.
It's one word, it's 2 word. But when you start doing that and realize how much your kid can memorize, man, you might be convinced of classical education then. I don't know. But again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. But little things like that they're a sponge. They have
Mhm.
to learn, and you can start doing
Yes.
stuff like that then.
You can also start adding some structure to your day because, like Abby said, um, if you wait until they're 6 years old and you need to sit down and do some handwriting, they're not going to be able to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to cry. They're going to cry. It's going to be a nightmare. But if you've already added some structure to your day
Mm-hmm.
and you're already saying, we eat our meals at about this time,
Yeah.
we read books at this time, then we have block time. If your child is used to making their own decisions all day long, watching TV whenever they want to, carrying around a tablet, and we're coming to this.
We're
Stay
coming for you,
tuned.
screens.
We're coming for you. Um, but add structure to your day. Even you're very young, we can go back to those sleep schedules that I
Mm-hmm.
referenced.
Yeah.
Even your young child, um, at a very early age, we start to figure out, okay, this is about what time they eat. This is
Mm-hmm.
about what time they take a nap. And we start structuring that so that their needs are met when they need to be met. And so they're already used to a schedule. It's good for them. So if you're a mom of littles and you're staying at home with them, praise God, first of all. But try to be structured with your day. Get up at a routine time.
Mm-hmm.
Get dressed. Eat breakfast at a routine time. Go outside. Play blocks. Let them have some kind of understanding of after lunch, we have a quiet time and read books.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Right.
become dependent on screens very young. Don't let the TV become background noise at your house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really start building in some structure. I'm not saying that you live to the moment and have a
Mm-hmm.
whole day that's completely mapped out and you can't be flexible and you can't go to the library or go to the park on a random day with friends. But teach your kids that we don't just do what you want all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Even those summer days, we do have a little bit of structure. We do still sit at the table for meals. We do still have our read aloud time. We do still have a quiet time, even when we don't have nap time. Um, I think that those are all really important things.
Yeah.
So if you're adding some structure now, and like Abby said, teaching them to sit still for age appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
reasonable times,
Right.
not to watch a movie. That doesn't count.
Well, and
Sitting still
Anna,
to watch a movie.
this feels too
Um,
obvious to say, but meal times. Sit on your bottom and eat a meal together. And
yeah,
like toddlers 2 and 3, they can sit at the table, and if they finish their food and they went down, oh, stay and visit with the family while we finish. You can, practice sitting at
yeah,
the table. And it feels so obvious, but really our culture has gotten away from some of this stuff. So yeah,
yeah.
even it's not about even a schedule or time, like at 1 o'clock we go to rest, but a general routine. And even just as a parent, that's very good for your children
Mhm.
to know what to expect.
Good for
It's very
you.
regulating, to use a modern word, and even with our foster kids, like we stress the routine. It's like, and I will talk to them like, okay, we're eating lunch. What is the next thing we're going to do? Wipe the table. Yes. And then what are we going to do after we wipe the table? Go to rest. What are we going to do when we go to rest? We're going to get in the car and go to visit. It's regulating. They
Yeah.
understand what we expect of them. And so add in some table time, where table time, again, we're not formally cramming stuff down their throat. We're not formally educating,
Mhm.
but it's table time. Today at table time, we're having Play-Doh. And then
Mhm.
in next year at table time, we might do Play-Doh and write your name. And the next year, we might do a whole math lesson. Start
Yeah.
somewhere. Don't follow your kid around until they're 6 and be like, and now you have to sit at the table for 5 hours, which I would argue you shouldn't do when they're 6 either,
No, for sure not.
but.
But you do have to start training these things early to be able to do them more easily later.
Yeah,
It's not it's still not always going to be easy, but you're
right.
training it in so young. And it's just normal.
hmm
It's just the next thing. We're
And
not
make,
skipping steps.
right, make obedience normal.
Oh,
That's a
please do that.
when 2 and 3, that is a great age. You're not doing a formal education, but this is the age where, like, discipline is your job, and do it now. It'll be easier when they're 2 and 3. It's hard. It's really hard. We have a lot of 2 and 3 year olds right now, and it's really hard. It's really exhausting. And sometimes at the end of the day, I'm at the end of myself and I'm done. But just commit to consistency, because a lot of homeschooling is obedience. Like Anna already said, the hardest part of homeschooling is parenting. And
Mhm.
so make obedience normal.
Yeah, and you can model that so early, with your children too. You know, I remember very clearly, even before my son could talk, I would say, "Okay, let's go lay down for a nap." "Yes, ma'am."
Right.
And just be saying those things so that one day he hears a command and knows, oh, we say yes, ma'am.
hmm
And so, okay, let's wash our hands. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's brush our teeth. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And eventually he started saying it back because he was being prompted to say, yes, ma'am, we obey. We do what mom says. I'm not saying, do you want to go brush your teeth? Well, because probably not. And I don't want to hear that he doesn't want to. Okay, let's do this. Yes, ma'am.
hmm
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then do the thing. Grab them up
hmm
and let's go do the thing. And then eventually they're going to learn that they have the ability to say no and question and do the things. But as littles, oh, yes, ma'am, here we
They're
go.
here for
You're
it.
just picking them up and taking them, and they don't know anything different yet. One day
hmm
they'll learn, and you're going to have to discipline that. But start just encouraging those healthy, obedient, respectful responses. It is going to pay off later. You're still going to have problems that you're going to have to address, but you're training those things in, and it's going to make it easier for you later. So,
hmm
again, when you look at your curriculum, begin with the end in mind. When you talk to your children, begin with the end in mind, right? We want
hmm
respectful, obedient children. Everybody wants that. So start now, start young. We want kids that can, when they're in ninth grade, I have an eighth grader and he's pretty good at it. Look at their schedule, structure out their day themselves because they know how long it's going to take them to do this. So I
hmm
sit down with my son at this point and say, okay, what time are you doing this? What time are you doing this? Okay, you need me for this. What time are we doing this? And he can really structure out his day because guess what? I taught him that. He learned. We got to have structure. We don't just willy nilly, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do that. And I don't know. So start young and teach them. Structure's good. Structure's a good thing. And then as they get older, they get to start implementing their own schedule and their own structure a little bit better. They learn time management. And that's one of the benefits, one of the fruits that you get to see when you're there from the beginning and you're training these things in. You get to see them start spitting them out. And that's beautiful. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Again, the end goal. We don't want them to stay children. We're raising adults.
Yeah. So don't have
Hopefully
unrealistic
that can
expectations.
function and can
Yeah.
function in a lot of different, environments. They get to make choices someday. We're not going to be always making the choices for them. So just, I hope that at the end of my kids' formal education, they feel like I've given them enough that they could choose college, or they could choose a trade school, or they could choose to go get a job, or they could feel ready to get married. I hope that, and that's kind of how I arrived at what I would do, is I wanted to give my kids enough so that they could make a choice to do or to not do whatever at the end of high school. Um, Not that I've given them everything, but that they don't feel stuck.
Yeah. And similarly, my goal for my son educationally was that he could be a lifelong learner, that I would
Mhm.
teach him the skills, give him the tools to be able to know at any point in his life, hey, I really want to do this job. I really want to get this job. But to do this, I have to know this. But guess what? I know how to teach myself.
Mhm.
I know where to go to look. I have the skills I need to learn this. It doesn't have to be, oh man, I wish I had learned that way back in the day. It's really too late for me now. No, it's not.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, it's not. I have the tools, I have the skills, I have the knowledge base to teach myself this task um, to get any job that I want,
Mhm.
to
And I
pursue anything that
think
I want.
one of the ways we teach our children that, empower them to keep learning things that they don't understand, is by not submitting to them
Modeling.
early on. Because when they, there is, man, there's so many good choices you can make, but the whole unschooling or child-led learning thing, where people are like, what does my kid good at, we'll do that. I
Hmm.
think that might lead to a child who thinks this is all I can do. Instead of
Right.
saying, I know you don't understand this, but God created the universe in a way that makes sense. And so numbers make sense because God is a God of order, and you are made in his image. And I know you
Hmm.
can understand it. And we're going to sit here and we're going to learn it. And wow, when you learn, when something clicks for you that you did not understand and then you grasp it, you feel like $1,000,000. It does feel good. And it goes back to what Andrew Pudewa said. Like, if a child says they don't like something, they are telling you, I do not understand it. Because when they understand it, they do like it because they do feel empowered.
Yes. And we're also modeling for them that we are lifelong learners
Mhm.
because at some point in your child's education, you're going to teach them something you don't know.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to model for them, hey, here we are. We've been taking the steps one step at a time, and here we are. It's time to study physics. So we're gonna learn physics,
Yeah. And
and we're
you will be
modeling for them.
shocked at how early that happens. We have an 8-year-old that asks me questions I don't know the answers to every day.
Yeah, and you get to model. That's a really good question. Let's find the answer together.
Good thing Google's free. Also, yeah, with
Well, watch
Hadassah,
Google. We've talked about that too. Good
I know,
sources.
I know, but hey, you can find good sources on Google. You just have to know which ones are bad sources, and I know, I got it. Uh, Hadassah, a couple weeks ago, she got to the section of pre-algebra where she was like converting fractions, or converting repeating decimals to fractions. And I'm looking at
Hmm.
this and I'm like, I know I had to have learned this, but I don't know why we're multiplying this by 100f. But I I told her, I'm like, I don't remember this at all. And we sat down and learned it. And we did like 30, our lesson has so many problems. We did like 30
Yeah.
together. And at the end of it, I'm like, I am a
Look at
genius.
me.
I
I
felt
know.
so smart.
For the first time a couple weeks ago, Nathan had a math problem that he got wrong, and I was convinced he did it right. And I was like, "This looks right to me. I don't understand." His dad came home, and he helped us both see the error of our ways. So you get to model for them. We're not done learning. We're always
Mm-hmm.
learning. We're always pursuing more. We're always pushing to something higher. So you really have already made the hard choice.
Mm-hmm.
You're going good places. You get to walk through this with your kid. So cling to those things that we said. Play. Be intentional. Add structure to your day. Be
Parent.
consistent with your days. Parent. Discipline. Love your children. Read good books to your children. Read good books for yourself. Find good resources and find a friend. Find community. And if you have specific questions, like clearly, we've been talking about this for a long time. We
Mhm.
can talk about homeschooling literally all day.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous
Literally,
because we're at
it's what we
55
do.
minutes and we said we had nothing to say. So,
Can you imagine if you gave us topic we had a lot to say about? But genuinely, we're so happy for you. This is something that you should really be rejoicing in. That you are blessed to be able to walk with your child through life, to parent them, to do the hard things, to model for them, to teach them, and to love them, and to one day sit back and see the fruit.